Hello world, welcome to Sins of the South Cooking. It is your boy Darius here, your culinary professional. Want to welcome y'all to episode 1. Long overdue, but we are starting today with a simple but a heater: buttermilk biscuits. Whether it's Martin's, Chick-fil-A, Winners, this recipe is on par with all of those spots. 3 ingredients: butter, buttermilk, self-rising flour. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's jump right in. So as promised, 3 ingredients only. We got 1 cup of buttermilk, 2 cups of self-rising flour, and 1 stick of butter, preferably frozen. Chilled is okay. As far as the flour, if you don't have it self-rising with your all-purpose, just mix in a teaspoon and a half of baking powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Likewise with the buttermilk, with your regular milk, replace a tablespoon of that milk with either a tablespoon of vinegar or lemon juice and let that curdle for a few minutes, and you are good to go as well. To get started, we just want to take that stick of butter and grate it into our flour mixture. I keep the little wax paper to help retain as much heat from the butter as I can. You want chunks of butter throughout this dough and throughout this process. You don't want that butter melting into the flour. Once you've gotten the whole stick, I would watch this part just a couple times just to kind of see the process. I'm gonna stress this a lot, but you want to be very gentle with this dough, just to ensure just a tender, flaky biscuit at the end of this process. So you're literally just coating your butter and tossing your butter with the flour, just kind of covering it, getting all of it coated. You're not running it between your fingers, anything like that. You're literally just trying to coat that butter with the flour. As you see, we have chunks of butter throughout the flour, and this is exactly the result we want. From here, we're just going to make a well in the center and add in that buttermilk. This as well, we're going to take slow and gentle, and wherever you see buttermilk, you're just going to toss some flour and let it absorb into that buttermilk. That's just going to ensure that butter stays cold and just those chunks of butter in there. Doesn't take too long. As you see, there's no spoon needed, really. You're just letting it soak into that buttermilk, and it will come together pretty quickly. Me, myself, I am a messy cook, as you see, so any assistance in the cleaning process certainly helps. So I throw down a piece of parchment paper or wax paper, just to kind of aid in the cleanup process once we're done. Whichever surface you are on, just make sure it is dusted liberally with some excess flour. Don't worry about too much if it's just all-purpose. It's really not that serious. Go ahead and just throw down your dough. Definitely want to make sure your hands are floured as well. As you see, it is a wet dough, so you definitely just want to make sure to kind of help it not stick. Definitely make sure your hands are floured as well. Continuing on with the mood of slow and gentle, we just simply want to pat down that dough until it forms. Dust that layer with some flour and fold it over on itself. I did this about 8 times. I would say minimum 5 to 6. You don't want to work it too much. But again, this is where we're creating those layers. So when that butter starts to melt, just commingles with those pockets of flour and creates those buttery, flaky layers. Exactly what we're wanting in these biscuits. Again, being as gentle as possible, you just want to form that dough into an even layer. And as long as we follow steps, this is what we should be looking at this point. Before even lifting it up to the camera, you can see the chunks of butter all throughout that dough. And this is exactly what I mean. You don't want it melting, you want those chunks of butter in there. Lastly, we are just going to take our cutting tool. I have some reserved flour that I'm using just to help me make a smooth cut. I don't have the proper cutting tools. Amazon Prime, I see you. Also, do as I say, not as I do. Do not twist your cutting tool, just go straight down. Pro tip for you guys right there. But with this recipe, I ended up coming out with 8 Chick-fil-A sized biscuits, and I did end up using all the dough, and they actually all came out pretty much all the same size. You want to pop these in a preheated oven of at least 425, 450 if your oven does not run too hot, for 15 minutes until they are golden brown. Alright, and here we have it, the best buttermilk biscuit you will come across. Look like one of them old KFC biscuits from back in the day, back when the coleslaw was so good. But thank y'all for watching. Like, subscribe, drop some comments for some more tutorials you want. See y'all soon.